Hi, today we're going to talk about stocks, in particular chicken stock we're going to start out with. Chicken stock itself is the most ubiquitous, most common stock that we use in any Western style kitchen. It's a basis for a lot of sauces. It's based for 90% of the soups. Even if it's a vegetable based soup like a cream of tomato or something like that, usually chicken stock is used so much, so common. That we have there, it says 350 kilograms of 3.5 kilograms of chicken, right? So what we got here, we got basically about, it looks like about a kilo or so, a little lighter than a kilo. So we're going to cut down things a little smaller on there. The ratios, what's very important is the ratios. You look at carrots, celery, and onions, that's called mirepoix together. Mirepoix is a French term. It's used all the time when it comes to talking about even soups. If you're making minestrone soup, there's going to be a mirepoix base on there. It's carrot, celery, and onions. And before I was talking how important celery, that taste of celery is in Western cooking. I've made stocks without celery, and it tastes off. It's hard to say what. Maybe the stock tastes delicious, but it doesn't taste like good chicken stock. So once again, celery is very important, but the ratios, 25% carrot, 25% celery, and 50% onion, that doesn't change no matter what it is. So percentages are important to know, right? And then 5.5 liters of water, which you can really end up with about 4.5 liters of water after the cooking time. Now, the sachet de spice, once again, another French term. There's another term called bouquet garni, which are interchangeable. They're a little different. Sachet de spice are the flavoring of the stock itself, but once again, not overpowering, not too much of anything. If you look 5.5 liters of water and only 2 bay leaves, it's not a lot. Parsley stems, two. Peppercorns, 4. Garlic, 2. And sprigs of fresh thyme. Sprigs and leaves are a little different. If you look at the parsley stems are the julgi, the woody part of it, and the sprig is the whole thing, counting the leaves. Now, in parsley, we don't use the stems. We don't use the leaves. We use the stems, and with thyme, because it's so small, the leaves, we put that in there. The reason why we only use the stems is because we don't want to color it. You really don't want to color the stock. And anything green that cooks for, you'll see how long this cooks, 4 hours, will turn brown. And you really don't want a brown stock. You want a nice light yellowish type of stock. Okay, now the methods here, first of all, is rinse the bones. Wash it cold water, always cold water, never wash it with warm water. In all classes, all the keywords, words that are darkened and stuff like that, those are words you should know. We'll talk about those words. They'll end up on your test. But these words are used all the time. And if you're going to go to the internet and you're going to look up recipes, you're going to see these terms quite frequently. So combine the bones and water. We already talked about combine. What's the difference between combined and mixed? Mixing is more vigorous. Combining, just putting together, just adding it together. Right? You combine the bones and the water. You bring the stock to a boil, and boil means bogle. The reason why you do that for only for a minute is to kill any bacteria, because there is a lot of bacteria in the air and on the chicken bones. So you want to boil it, but only a short time. This number 3 is a big difference between Korean style stocks and Western style stocks. In Korea, like if you make goregontang or salentong or samgaetang, all those you boil hard for a long time. And what that does, that incorporates the fat into the liquid. It gives it a white color. Now, when I first had like salentong, I tasted it. I go, it tastes soapy to a Westerner, because if you boil fat, it has a tendency, and that's how traditional soaps are made. And I didn't like when I first had it. Now I understand what the flavor group is. But here we're going to simmer everything. If you look at number 4, 4 is a real key point. Reduce the heat to a slow simmer. That's bloop, 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 bloop. Slow. Not boiling it hard. We want a clear stock. That's a very important thing. Number 5, skim is needed. What you're going to do is take the fat and the blood off the top as needed. So how many times? At least during the 3 hours you're going to do it, you're going to do it at least 4 or 5 times, depending on how fatty things are. Right? Now this is simmering for 3 hours, which is a fairly long time. And if it's boiling too hard, it's going to reduce down, down too fast. You don't want to add, you might have to add at the end add some more water to bring it back up. But a slow simmer, it doesn't reduce that much. So that's why simmering for 3 hours is very, very important. After that point, after it's simmered and you skimmed, you add the mirepoix, the sachet, the spice for 1 more hour of simmering. The reason why you have to skim it well in the beginning, because once you add the sachet, the spice, and the mirepoix, that stuff floats on the top and you'll never be able to skim it off. It'd be impossible, close to impossible at least, to do it. You let that go for 1 more hour. After that, you strain it and you cool it. Cool it either ice bath, quickly into a refrigerator, cold water. The faster you cool down anything, soup, stocks, or anything like that, not only the bacteria, because you have the safe zone where it gets cooled off fast, that bacteria won't grow. But second of all, it seems to okay the flavor. It holds the flavor quite well. And that's once again, we're in the flavor business, so it has to be handled very, very well. Okay. Question: why not just add the sachet of spice and mirepoix in the beginning? Why wait an hour for it? The reason why is we're looking for a clear stock. We only want to add the flavors. If you cook a carrot for 4 hours, what's going to happen to it? It's going to just mush and disintegrate. You're going to have an orange stock is what you're going to have. And the celery itself is going to turn brown. So it's going to change a lot of colors in there. And you don't really want that. We want the flavor of the sachet of spice. We want the flavor of the mirepoix. But we really don't want the color of it. So once again, the cooking times are very important. The steps are very important. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go and do it step by step. Okay? Okay. Well, we're going to go now, we're going to talk about chicken fabrication. Fabrication means to fabricate really means to make. Well, what we're going to do is be cutting down chickens for several purposes. We show how to cut it for roasting, how to cut it for stocks, how to cut it for grilling, the different types of cuts. Now, one key point that I wanted to impress upon you guys all the time. When you get a box like this, never put it on the cutting board. It doesn't belong on the cutting board because you don't know where it's been. This is on the bottom of a truck. It was on the ground. It's skidding around. You can put it on your work surface. Just keep in mind that this can be very, very dirty. Okay, what do we got in here? Oh, we got 2 chickens. We got 2 chickens. This generally should be clean enough for your cutting board. Let's hope it is. Boxes, always get rid of this as fast as possible. You don't want to keep them around. No, I don't know if I ordered chickens or doogies. They're very small. Once again, this is where paring knives come in handy for small cuts and things like that. Now, should I wash the chicken? No. We used to, when I was a student, we always had to wash the chickens. You don't want to wash the chicken, so I'll give you a very good demonstration on why. First of all, after you take it out of the bag, carefully remove and throw away. Chickens themselves are pretty much salmonella heavens. The reason why we don't wash them today is that if you wash it, you think you're cleaning it. You're really not. You might be getting some dirt or things like that off it, but what you're going to be doing is you're going to have this dripping chicken, dripping bacteria all through your kitchen. So now they recommend not to wash your chicken if you're going to be cooking it immediately, which we're going to be doing. Okay? Well, they're kind of cute. Pretty small, that's for sure. 2 different colors. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Now chickens are like humans. I hate to say that, right? You have this, multiple bones. Here you got 2 bones. Here you got 1 bone.
They're basically set like humans. No kneecaps. Their feet are missing. That's for sure. So if we're going to roast this, just say we're going to do roast chicken. I don't see a roasting pan. You take this part, you fold it underneath. All right? So it doesn't, the wingtips don't burn. Leave it like this. You take some salt and pepper and oil and you rub it and you put it into a pan and off you go for roasting. A whole roasted chicken. Say you're going to do a half roasted chicken. Take off the wingtips. Cutting between the joints. If you notice, I'm not. You find a spot, you just cut right through. They cut very easy. This you're going to save for stocks. That's going to save for stocks. Now we're going to do a half a roasted chicken. So what we're going to do is put the knife inside, come out to the neck area here. Right? And then firmly, but not quickly, just push. All right? Cut down. Then slide the knife out to make sure you cut the skin. And what we should have there is almost 2 halves. Now, you're going to see here the keel bone. It's called the keel bone, the center breastbone there. You're going to take the knife, you slide it, and slowly cut a groove into it. And then do the same thing, holding it and pressing it down. Then cutting through, because you want to make sure you cut the skin. Right? You got 2 perfect halves for roasting. You can take the neck off. That can go into the stock pot. We'll get back to these guys later. Let's talk about deboning a whole chicken. Right. Once again, there's several ways to take away to debone a chicken. That's for sure. This one, what we're going to do is cut off the breast with the skin on it. Once again, this is where the steel comes in because you really need your point on this one. You can use your paring knife. I'm a little more comfortable with using a French knife for this. I recommend it. Putting my fingers in and holding it this way because I'm going to cut this way. Once again, you want to keep your fingers away from the knife as much as possible. Here you got a keel bone. You got left and right of the keel bone. So what you're going to do is cut up and cut down. I'm cutting down to the bone. Take it. Separate with the knife there. Using the tip. Gently cut away. I'm sticking close to the bone. I don't want to leave meat on the bone. And I got the skin here, breast meat. I'm at this point here. I'm at this point on the chicken. You have to cut through that bone. And to do that, you have to feel where it is. And you cut right through. No chopping, no breaking. Because I know that if you go get fried chicken in Korea, the guys just hacking at the pieces. We don't want sharp pieces, sharp edges. Now that's all cut. The only thing that's holding this on now is the skin. The skin's important, especially if you're going to be roasting it or grilling it. So you cut gently across, preserving. Take off this part of the wing. Once again, this. Stock. This. Anju. That could be an appetizer. This what you have is a chicken breast with the leg, with the wing bone. It's called the paillard, a French word. It's called the paillard. It's very nice for grilling. It's very nice for grilling. Once again, on this side, I put my fingers in the center, and I'm kind of pulling the meat down a bit, and basically do the same thing. Cut up, using the tip of the knife, up, down, up, down. I'm at the shoulder part, cut through. Now it's only skin. cut through the skin. Stock. Appetizer, anju. Fold that tender back in there. Very, 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 very small chickens. Now I got the legs left over, right? So what you're going to do is take the legs and you break it. You pull them back until you pop it out of the joint. You got this little piece of meat here, which you want to cut in. And then to the leg, removing it. Same thing on this side. You take that meat, you cut through. There's the hip bone. Cut it through. For stocks, slice, break. You're going to have this part here, this red part. You're going to wash that off. That's going to give your stock a bitter flavor. It's going to change the flavor, and you don't want to do that. All chickens have it. It's all hidden back there. I think it's kidneys. Sure. Now with the legs. You can see right here, there's a little color variation there. Right? So you just cut right through. Same thing with that. Right? Just right through. There's no chopping. Chickens come apart extremely easy. Now we really don't use this. I'm going to take the skin off here because we don't really need the skin. Usually you just use the meat on the thighs. The skin and fat are not for the stock pot. Some chefs, I hate to, once again, if the chef says use it, yes. But what it is, it adds a lot of fat. It doesn't really do much else. Here I'm taking off any additional fat. The thigh meat's going to be used for sandwiches, soups. Don't really grill it per se. We usually end up grilling the chicken there. And if you notice the thigh meat, it's not round, really. It's flat. So what you do is, where the meat is the thinnest, put it down, separate with your fingers, using the tip, using the point again. Just cut on each side of the bone. When you cut through each side of the bone, you put your finger through and just pull it through, like that. And then break it down, scrape it down. Now you're going to get a piece of what you call cartilage, this white part. You're going to cut that, but you're going to have to remove it. Stock pot. This is the cartilage part I'm talking about right here. You have to cut that off. This can go in the stock pot. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. Same here, remove the skin. Tiny birds. This is all going to go in the garbage can. Once again, flatten it out. Using the tip. You need a good knife. Get your finger through there, put your thumb through, just pull it off, scrape it down. Cut it off, stock pot. Feel for that cartilage, it's right there. Stock pot. Now these are a little more difficult at this point. Once again, they're not round. They're not rounded. They are flattened. You can just peel this off at this point. Make it easier. Broke. Stock pot. Garbage can. Using a heel and knife. Stock pot. Once again, like with the upper thigh, this is the leg, breast, and wing. Right? You're going to take it, just put it down, and just cut. Down to the bone. Same technique, get your thumb through there, and just pull it. Scrape it down. Now with the leg part, you got to be very, very careful for that little tiny bone. I think you guys all know about it. It's right here. This is very, very small bird. Right here. Try to just separate it. This is a small, thin, and very sharp bone when it's cooked. Right now it's soft because it's fresh. Right? That you want to make sure that's okay with sackbot. You want to make sure it's not here. Look for any pieces of bone. You can leave the strings on. We call it strings. Those little pieces. When you cook them, they disappear. So you don't have to worry about them. Flatten it. Cut down to the bone. Be very careful. Don't hurry. There's no hurry on this. That's for sure. Cutting on both sides of the bone. Scrape it down. Here's that little bone I was telling you about. It's still attached. Still attached there. So you want to keep it attached. You don't want to have it end up in your soup. When it cooks, it's like a needle, like a pin. It gets very, very sharp and very, very dangerous. Cutting it down. Okay. If you learn to cut a chicken, you have very, very little waste. Everything that you make soups and stocks and sauces out of this. You got for soup, stir fry, anything like that, grilling. You got for roasting. Let's go with standard chicken breast. Okay. Just what would you consider like when you see what sandwiches and stuff. Removing skin, the best way to remove skin on any bird or anything like that is hold it up and just use your thumb. It comes off fairly easy. I'm at this part here, so let's make some anju out of this. Now I'm going to cut off the wing part. So what I'm going to do is use the heel of the knife and just slowly cut until you're going to see where it separates. What I'm doing is go into the shoulder bone. Cut. Yep, right there, it's through. Just trying to get a good angle for you guys. See? Cut right through, very easily. Once again, anju, side dishes, appetizers. These are very, 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 very small. At this point now, it's easy to remove the rest of the skin all the way down to the bottom of the leg. Here, just poke your finger through and pull. This one's a little tight. Yeah. Using my thumb. Thumb's going underneath everything. Now you get to the end here, it's a little hard at the end of the leg. Well, it should just pull right off. Not for stocks unless the chef says so. There we go. We got a naked bird. Here, like with the whole chicken, you pop it. You can see that leg part come out. Cut right through. We're going to take the meat off the the meat off the bone here. Cutting at just down to the bone part, using my fingers to pull back the meat as I'm cutting. And now lay it flat and cut along the board. Basically kind of just scrape it off. Okay, stock pot. And anju, shoulder. You can save yourself a lot of money by cutting down your own chicken too. If you have the skill and the time, much easier. You get a better quality. You get different cuts, different purposes. And it's cheaper. It's cheaper. You do it yourself. This one I got the keel bone there. The other, you can cut from this side. This side doesn't really matter. Whatever you're really most comfortable with. The key point is to stay close to the bone, using the tip of the knife. So it's up one, up one, up one. Try not to, I guess you could, but it's much easier to go back and forth. Because the key point is you want the chicken breast. You don't want to leave a lot of meat on the bones. Cut to that point. Yeah. Now here you've noticed I got a little piece of cartilage. Be careful of that. That can go in the stock pot. Okay. Stock pot. You got the legs. Once again, these are fine with bone on. You can leave them for the bone on, if you're gonna, depending on your recipe or what you're going to use them for. Take off the fat. Right. Chicken's very easy to cut apart. These are nice for grilling or frying. You know, you can leave the skin on for frying. Ooh, careful. Okay. Paillard, chicken breast, thigh meat, leg meat, whole pieces. This is basically the only garbage that we have. This is going to go in our stock pot. This is garbage can. This is stock. It's the neck. You got side dishes. You got soups, sauces. You got entrees, appetizers, salads, soup. Right? Appetizer, main dish. This could be main dish too, depending on what you do. Okay? That's fabricating a chicken. It's easy to do. It's not hard. Key point, using your point of your knife. Second key point, try not to leave a lot of gogi on there. Now, once again, we're going to make stock out of this. So, once again, this is not garbage. We're going to make some money with that. We'll make money with this, make money with that, make not money with that. That we got to throw out. That's not bad. That's not bad. We'll have bones to throw in. Okay? That wraps that up, and then next edition, we'll start talking about stocks. Okay, great. Now we're in the kitchen. Before we talked about it and showed how to fabricate chicken, here's our chicken bones. This is our leftovers, our chicken skin and fat, which we're not going to use for stocks. This can, like I said, be anju or anything. We're going to put it in today's stock because we really have no other use for it. This, garbage. We don't need that. That's for sure. This is what we need. What else do we need? We need mirepoix and sachet de spice. And here we go. Mirepoix, carrots, celery, and onion. Sachet de spice. Now this is called thyme sprig. That's a sprig. This would be a thyme stem. just the woody part. In this case, what we're going to do, we're going to need the whole sprigs. It's fine. To me, too, besides celery, thyme is a very Western flavor. We need some parsley stems, not the green part. All right, I'm going to rinse these off. Garlic. 2 is fine. 2 or 3 is depending. Huchu. Not too much. You don't want to make it spicy. It's all about balance. All about equal flavors. And bay leaves. Once again, the bay leaves are a very important flavored ingredient. These 5 items are sachet of spice that I use in my kitchen. They're pretty standard in most Western kitchens, but a lot of chefs use rosemary when they talk about chicken stock. If you work in a kitchen and the chef says put rosemary in, sure. That's about the only variations. Sometimes, once again, more and less. This is, believe it or not, is a lot of garlic. In Korean cooking, it's really not, but in Western cooking, garlic is used very lightly. Carrot, celery, and onions. Once again, we don't use the leaves. We're going to rinse. Now, if you're in a busy kitchen that uses a lot of celery for soups and salads and things like that, this is perfect for stocks. This type of ends. Even this. Well, this is suitable for sandwich making or anything like that, that's for sure. But a lot of times, you just take a whole head of celery and just cut this off, and this would go into stocks, and this would go into anything else. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to use this all for our stocks. Now, I think you guys heard the term kankuse. Kankuse means rough cut. In Korea, kankuse means kankuse tomatoes, where you peel a tomato, you clean it out, and you chop it. But kankuse means anything rough chop. And for stocks, you rough chop. Don't cut too small. That's a lot of times a problem too. So some people like sit there. The problem with that is that even after an hour, if it's too small, it's going to release too much of it. You want large pieces. For stocks, definitely no reason. As long as it's washed, it's a washed carrot, then you don't have to worry about. A little big piece, take care of that. Yeah, that's fine. This one's a little big. Once again, consistency and size is what you want. 25, 25. Now we need 25, 25. And now we need 50 of the onions. Once again, when we talk about cutting onions before, a lot of times chefs use the peelings for stock. I don't particularly agree with that because a lot of this is not very clean. You don't know how it's been sprayed or anything like there's bug yuck on it or anything. I don't recommend it. But if you work in a kitchen and chef says use that, you say, yes, sir. Absolutely. Okay. Same idea, but here's the stem end. This you don't have to worry about. We're going to rough cut. So you just want to. That's 25, just a little more. $50, $25, $25. You're looking for an average ratio. You got to be very careful. This is actually a lot of mirepoix for this type of bones right here, because once again the recipe calls for a lot more bones. But if you saw the size of this chicken was pretty small, once again. Well, that's okay. This ratio is fine. You don't want to overdo the onions. You don't want to overdo the garlic because those two things will be a very strong flavor enhancement. Now we're talking about pots. In class, we're going to be using these aluminum pots. These are good pots. These are very standard, industry standard pots type of thing. But when you're cooking something for 4 hours, aluminum is not necessarily the best thing. Stainless steel is, especially if you do like spaghetti sauces and things like that. The beef stock I'll use this for because that the cooking time for beef stock is 8 hours. We're talking 4 hours to 8 hours, twice as long. I'm going to go with the aluminum pot right now because it seems to make more sense than that. Step 1, rinse the bones. Don't need that. Cold water. Now some chefs will blanch the bones first. Blanching means to cook quickly the first time and throw it out. You do that in Korean cooking a lot of times when you do like godigomtang. You soak the bones in water overnight, and you boil them once, and then drain the water and then throw it again. Once again, there's no right or wrong. It's up to what the chef wants to do. I myself just make sure you rinse the bones well enough. Blood itself, the chicken blood itself will help purify and clean it. So about this much bones, you're going to bring it up to this button here. Cold water, we always start out with cold water. Culturally, more than factually. Up to the button and over the button. Okay. The bones should float. Once again, this is going to simmer for 3 hours. When it's done simmering, these bones are going to basically be out of the water where you're going to add a little more when you add your mirepoix. A quick note about the stove here. Now they're burning nice and blue. You want a blue flame. You see how this is burning yellow? Yellow is going to blacken the pot, plus it gives out very bad gases. So if it's something you're going to cook for a long time, you look for a nice hot blue fire, right? What you're going to do is keep it high for the first, until it boils. You're going to wait for that to come to a boil. You'll let it boil for a minute, and then we're going to let it simmer. Don't start yet. 3, 2, 1. Start.
On it. It's already gone.
Okay. Okay, great. Here we're coming to our first boil. As I said, the first step, you rinse the bones, right? You combine the water and the bones. You bring to a boil. It's a simmer now. It's coming into a hard simmer. This is a low boil. Now it's going into a hard boil. And you let it hard boil for a minute. Don't let it boil over. That's a hard boil. And that will clean it, and you can see everything coming up. And you can skim it now at this point for the first minute. Once you add the mirepoix, the sachet, the spice, you cannot really skim it at all. I'm going to do this maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. It depends how much. More and more fat's going to be coming off. But the key point is a clear stock. And a clear stock is only achieved by removing the extra fat that's floating on the top. See, more and more comes up. Don't super skim it. You don't want to put a lot of stock water in there. You can take the pot too and move it off to the side, and that's going to boil on this side and push all the fat and impurities to this side. It makes it a little easier. There's a French term called dépullage. There's actually a term for that. Okay. Let that boil hard boil for 1 minute, and then cut to a simmer. And the simmer is very low. This is a little hard simmer now, but I turned down the flame, and you can see the bubbles getting slower and slower, and that will take some time. This one's going to go now for 3 hours with me skimming it periodically, make sure it's clean. Cut. Okay, you see now I'm coming back to a hard boil. We're going to let that bring it to a hard boil for just even 30 seconds at this point, because we really just have the vegetables in there. The chickens are real concerned about bacteria. If you can, it's a little difficult. If you can skim a little. Don't worry about it at this point. Bring it to a hard boil. Now we're going to simmer it for 1 more hour. And once again, it's a slow simmer. If you need to add water, that's fine. I didn't have to add water because of the slow simmer. If it simmers too hard, now you're almost making like tea. You want this nice, gentle simmer like this. This is real nice. Okay, now we got the chicken stock going. We cooked it for 3 hours with the bones alone only, and then we added the mirepoix and sachet of spice. Carrots, celery, and onions, 50, 25, 25. 50 onions, 25 carrots, 25 celery. Sachet of spice, 5 items. Once again, some chefs are different, but it basically sticks the same way. Crushed garlic, parsley stems, thyme sprigs. I know stems and sprigs, I don't know if you bay leaf, and peppercorns. And we got that going now for an hour. It's simmering. Take a good look at this. This is a beautiful simmer. This is a very, very nice simmer. And you see, because I did all the skimming on it earlier, there's very little fat that's going to be left over, which is fine. It's fine. That's very nice. That's very nice. Okay, now you turn it off, and we're going to strain it. Right now, there's 2 typical types of strainers. Right? This is a fine chinoise, and this is a chinois. Chinois is a French word for China cap, which is a funny name, but that's where it comes from. These holes are fairly large. This is very, very small. I prefer using this for sauces and things like that. But straining socks, you can use the larger one on. Very nice color. Very nice color. Be careful, obviously, with straining it. Now there is a lot of flavor still hanging out on this. So you take a ladle and gently push. Now you might look at it and go, oh chef, come on, there's not a lot coming out of there. This is 4 hours of cooking time, which is a lot of gas, a lot of energy, a lot of time. You don't want to throw anything out. You really don't. You can let this drip for quite some time, and it will drip for 15 minutes. It'll still put out some food. You don't want to mash it too hard, that's for sure. Again, you don't want to do that. Okay. As you can see there, very, very nice chicken stock. Nice color, nice and clear, not milky color. I got some leaves in there. Whoops. It was at the bottom of the ladle. I'll just put it through here and I'll take it out again. There we go. Okay, chicken stock, the foundation of all soups, most soups, I shouldn't say all, but almost all soups. A good stock makes a good sauce. A good sauce makes a good entree. A good entree makes a good restaurant, and a good restaurant makes good money. Okay? I like that. That's kind of nice. Chicken stock, my favorite.